The crowd gathered in silence, their mouths open, eyes wide, as if time itself had frozen. 5 students, known as the toughest bullies in the entire school, were sprawled across the concrete floor of the gym parking lot. Some were groaning, others too shocked to even move, and standing right in the middle of them was the one person nobody had ever expected, the new girl. Her knuckles were raw, her breathing steady, controlled. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't crying. She was just standing there, as if this wasn't the first time she had been in a fight, as if she had carried this storm inside her for years, waiting for the exact moment to unleash it. Phones were out. Students whispered in disbelief, "What just happened? Who is she? How did she—" But here's the thing nobody realized. This wasn't just a fight. This wasn't just a victory over bullies. This was the moment the new girl's entire life, her pain, her history, her resilience, came crashing into one single decision. Hours earlier, she was invisible, an outsider, judged not by her name, but by her skin. Mocked not because of who she was, but because of what others assumed she couldn't be. They thought she was weak. They thought she was silent. They thought she was an easy target. They were wrong. And this is her story. Her name was Nia Washington, a 16-year-old girl with quiet eyes and the kind of silence that made people uncomfortable. She had just moved from Detroit, Michigan, to a small, predominantly white suburban town in Texas. For Nia, this move wasn't a choice. It was survival. Her mother, Angela, had taken a new job after years of struggling to make ends meet, hoping that a fresh start would give her daughter a better future. But Nia knew what it meant to be the new girl. She knew what it meant to stand out in a place where people didn't want you to stand out. On her very first day at Riverdale High, the whispers began before she even reached her first class. "Who's that?" "She doesn't belong here. Look at her hair. Look at her clothes." She kept walking, shoulders straight, eyes forward. Her father used to tell her, "Never let them see you break. People will test you. But strength, real strength, is quiet." Her father, the thought of him still brought an ache that burned deep inside. He had been a soldier, disciplined and fearless, until an accident overseas took him away when Nia was just 12. But before he left, he had passed down lessons no textbook could teach: self-defense, awareness, control. "One day," he used to say, "you'll realize these skills are not about fighting, they're about surviving." Nia never wanted to use them, but the world often had other plans. By lunchtime, she had already been labeled, not by her name, not by her grades, but by her skin. She sat alone at a corner table, picking at her sandwich, while laughter echoed around her. She could feel the stares, the judgment, the invisible wall that separated her from everyone else. That's when they came. The bullies. A group of students led by Jason Miller, the star quarterback, tall, broad-shouldered, and known for making everyone laugh, except his humor always came at someone else's expense. His friends followed his lead, a group of boys who had never been told no in their lives, and girls who thrived on tearing others down. Jason walked past Nia's table, then suddenly stopped, smirking. "What's this? New girl thinks she's too good to say hi?" The table next to him laughed. Nia didn't respond. She lowered her eyes, kept eating. Silence, to her, was safety. But to them, silence was weakness. Jason tapped her tray, tilting. It just enough to spill juice across the table. His friends howled. "Oops. Guess she's clumsy, too." Nia exhaled slowly. She wiped the mess, gathered her things, and walked away. She didn't say a word, didn't even look back. And in that moment, Jason smiled, because to him, he had just found his new target. The days that followed became a blur of small humiliations. Her locker was vandalized with words she'd rather not repeat. She found her notebooks torn, her homework stolen. In the hallways, Jason's group would shoulder check her, sending her books scattering across the floor. And every time, she stayed silent. She picked up her things. She kept walking. But silence has its price. The more she endured, the bolder they became. Soon, whispers turned into outright insults. The jokes weren't hidden anymore. They were loud, cruel, and racially charged. Go back where you came from. You don't belong here. Charity case. The teachers saw. Some pretended not to. Others blamed Nia for attracting trouble. One even told her, maybe if you tried to fit in more, they wouldn't bother you. That night, Nia cried quietly in her room. She clutched her father's dog tag, the only piece of him she had left, and whispered, I'm trying, Dad. But it hurts. Her mother noticed, of course. Angela always did. But Nia brushed it off. I'm fine, Mom, because she didn't want her mother to carry more burdens. But inside, the storm was building. The cafeteria humiliation. Later that week in the cafeteria, Jason and his friends cornered her again. This time, one of the girls dumped a carton of milk over her lunch tray. The food slid onto the floor. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Nia froze. She could feel her entire body shaking, not with fear, but with restraint. She wanted to fight back, to end it right there. But she swallowed. Her pride bent down and cleaned the mess. See, she knows her place, Jason laughed, and in that moment something inside her shifted. She realized they weren't going to stop, not until she showed them who she really was. The breaking point came on a Friday afternoon. It was supposed to be. Just another routine day. Classes, homework, the bus ride home. But Jason and his crew had planned something bigger. They wanted to humiliate Nia in front of the entire school. That morning, a rumor spread like wildfire. There's gonna be a show after school. Don't miss it. Nobody said what, but everyone seemed to know. By lunchtime, the whispers grew louder. Heads turned toward Nia as she walked down the hallway, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She could feel it, the anticipation. The eyes waiting for her to break. Jason's grin told her everything. When the final bell rang, students poured into the gym parking lot. A circle began to form like vultures gathering before a feast. Jason and his friends stood at the center, waiting. And then Nia stepped outside. Phones were already out. Everyone wanted to capture the moment, the humiliation, the entertainment, the fight that Jason promised. Jason smirked. Look who finally showed up. The star of the show. The crowd cheered. Nia said nothing. She placed her backpack on the ground. Her face was calm, almost unreadable, but inside, the storm that had been building for weeks finally reached its peak. Jason stepped closer. You've been walking around here like you're invisible, like you're better than us. But today, you're gonna learn where you belong. His friends laughed. The crowd shouted, and that's when Jason shoved her, hard. Nia stumbled back but didn't fall. She straightened herself, her eyes never leaving his. Jason chuckled. See? Weak. But the next second, the world flipped. It happened so fast, most students didn't even realize what they were seeing. Jason lunged forward, swinging his fist in a sloppy, overconfident punch. But Nia had been trained for moments like this. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. Control, anticipate, end it quickly. She sidestepped. Jason's fist cut through empty air. Before he could react, Nia's elbow drove sharply into his ribs. He gasped, doubling over. The crowd erupted in gasps. Wait! What? Jason's friends charged, two at once. But Nia was faster. A quick pivot, a sweep of her leg, and one of them was flat on the ground. The other tried to grab her from behind. But she twisted, using his weight against him, sending him sprawling across the pavement. Phones shook as students tried to keep up, their cameras barely catching the blur of movement. This wasn't random flailing. This wasn't luck. This was skill, precision, control. The bullies kept coming, but Nia dismantled them one by one. Every move was efficient, sharp, and deliberate. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Just the discipline her father had drilled into her, the discipline she had carried in silence for years. Within minutes, 5 of the toughest bullies in school lay scattered on the ground, groaning, defeated. The crowd was silent, shocked. The girl they mocked, humiliated, dismissed, had just flipped their entire reality upside down. Nia didn't gloat, she didn't smile. She simply stood tall, her breathing calm, her knuckles scraped but steady. And then, in the silence, she said the first words she had spoken to any of them since arriving. "I don't need to belong here. I just need you to know I'm not afraid of you." The words hit harder than any punch. The video of the fight spread across the school like wildfire. By Monday morning, everyone had seen it. The same students who had laughed at her, who had whispered behind her back, now stared with wide eyes, unsure of how to even approach her. Some were impressed. Some were embarrassed. And Jason? He didn't show up to school for 2 days. But Nia wasn't proud of what she did. She didn't seek validation. She didn't want to be a hero. For her, it was never about glory. It was about survival. About drawing a line that no one would ever dare to cross again. Her mother found out, of course. Angela was furious at first. "Fighting? Nia, you could have been expelled. Do you know how dangerous?" But then she saw the bruises on her daughter's arms, the hurt in her eyes, and she understood. She held her close. "Your father would be proud of you. Not because you fought, but because you stood up for yourself." For the first time since moving, Nia felt something she hadn't in weeks. Peace. Word eventually reached the principal, and though the administration tried to downplay the incident, they couldn't ignore what had been captured on dozens of phones. Jason and his friends were suspended. Nia received a warning, but nothing more. The whispers changed. "She's dangerous. She's strong. She's not someone you mess with." But the truth. Nia didn't care about their opinions anymore. She had discovered something deeper, something unshakable. That silence doesn't mean weakness. That strength isn't about fists, but about resilience. That sometimes the most powerful voice is the one that refuses to be silenced. Her story spread beyond the school. Parents discussed it. Teachers reconsidered how they had ignored the bullying. And for students who had been suffering in silence, Nia became something more than the new girl. She became a symbol. Proof that they didn't have to endure injustice quietly. The bullies had picked the wrong girl, but in doing so, they revealed the truth. Strength doesn't come from power, privilege, or cruelty. It comes from the quiet fire of those who refuse to break. And now, as you watch this, ask yourself, how many Nias have been ignored in our schools, our neighborhoods, our society? How many voices have been silenced because nobody believed they could fight back? The answer isn't just in this story, it's in all of us, because maybe the next time we see injustice, we won't wait for someone like Nia to fight. Maybe we'll fight it together. Like and subscribe for more.